Kia ora koutou. Welcome to a special edition of the Hot Air Sports Podcast. We're just talking baseball today with me, Macca, and Mahona's got the day off today, but I've called in comedian, writer, and Los Angeles Angels tragic Jeremy Elwood. Welcome to Greytown, Jeremy.
It's nice to be here. Yeah, literally called me in. I'm in the area, so we're side by side, which is nice. Yeah, we're not on Zooms at the other end of the country.
Quite right, quite right. So the baseball season, we've passed the halfway mark. We've had all the silliness of the home run derby and the All-Star game. And now we're on to the business end of the season. So we're going to have a quick look at what happened in the first half of the season and then make some predictions about what's going to happen on the trade deadline, which is less than a week away now. It is, I guess you could say, mid-season, silly season. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think, the All-Star game and the home run derby don't do much for me, but the trade deadline, that's sort of a really exciting and pretty much unique to baseball too, to have it middle of the season.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we look into who's going to be buyers and who's going to be sellers, how do teams work that out about what they're going to be doing at the trade deadline?
Well, traditionally, you just look at where you are in the All-Star break. You work out what your likelihood is of winning your division, what your likelihood is of making it into one of the wild card spots. And if you're completely out of it, you look at, what contracts you might want to get rid of and who you can swap to get young players going forward into the future. It's trickier now because they expanded the wild card. They added, so there's now six teams from each league who will go to the postseason. And this year in particular, particularly in the American League, I mean, there are basically three teams in the American League who have no shot of making the postseason.
Mm.
Which means everyone's hanging on to their pieces until the last minute. If deciding whether they want to go for it, whether they want to bring players in and really make a run for it this year, or whether they get rid of some expiring deals and get some young players in and plan for the future. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, there's also sides, I guess, already down at the bottom there. And I'm going to call out the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure they would like to be able to sell,
yeah.
but they haven't really got anything to sell, have they?
Yeah, the Chicago White Sox are in a similar position with one notable exception, and because they've been in this position for a couple of years. So, I mean, the White Sox basically had a fire sale last year,
Yeah.
and then they're terrible again this year, and they don't have much to offer. But yeah, the Rockies they're I mean, I don't really know what's going on in Colorado. It's got a fan base, but they just
Yeah.
don't seem to have anything happening, no plan to it.
Well, the confusion started 3 or 4 years ago
Yeah.
when they paid all that money for Chris Bryant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They jump in now and again. And for the casual baseball fan, there's something about Colorado. They play at a very high altitude. So it's almost impossible for them to attract top level pitching
Yeah.
because anything that gets hit travels for a mile.
Yeah.
So they've always struggled to get good pitchers, and then they do try and bring in some big bats. They drafted heavy, heavy hitters this year with the idea of just putting bums on seats, but that appears to be the extent of their plan. And this is from an Angels fan. We've been doing this for about a decade with the same idea. Yeah.
Quite right. So, taking a quick look at the first half of the season, who's a team that's really surprised you?
Um, well, I am actually tempted to say my Angels, except that I wrote an article for a website at the beginning of the year saying that I predicted them to play 500 baseball this year, and that's where they are pretty much.
Yep.
So I won't say that. There's been I mean, one recent positive surprise is the Milwaukee Brewers. Currently, I mean, at the time of this recording, they have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
And they really don't have any frontline stars. They've lost a couple of big names. They lost Willie Adames in the offseason. They lost Corbin Burns a couple of years ago.
Williams.
Devin Williams, they lost him over the offseason. But yeah, they're playing really good baseball. And then at the other end of the spectrum, the Baltimore Orioles, who, I mean, for a couple of years now, people have thought this is the beginning of a dynasty in
Ooh.
Baltimore. They've got, so many young players that they held on to at the trade
Yeah.
deadline. And this year's been a disaster for them. They're the bottom of the division, and they just don't look like they're going anywhere.
Yeah.
Which arguably could make them really big players in the next week.
I guess the obvious one for me is Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
They've really, really surprised me, and pretty much running away with the Central.
Well, I would agree with you, except if you go back to the episode that we did at the beginning of this year, I think they were my surprise pick.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Well done, you.
They well, they were very smart. Like this time last year, they sold at the trade deadline. They sold their ace pitcher Jack Flaherty to the
Yeah,
Dodgers, who ended up basically being the Dodgers ace for the World Series. And then they got him back in the
yeah,
offseason. And a couple of the young pieces they got for Flaherty, Sweeney, who became their starting shortstop. So yeah, they're a strong team and they've played. They're a lot of fun to watch too.
mm,
Both them and the Brewers. If you're a casual fan looking for a fun team to pick up a game on, both of those teams are really worth a look this year.
yeah. My downside team would have to be the Atlanta Braves.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
just they have such a good roster
yeah,
and so many good players, and just watching them on the weekend against the Yankees, they were really disappointing.
yeah. They've been bad. They've been riddled with injuries,
Yeah,
but they seem to be riddled with injuries every year.
yeah,
I mean, even when they won the World Series in 21, was it 21 or 22? Anyway, when they won the World Series, they basically, at the trade deadline, they had to pick up an entire outfield.
yeah.
And that's when they brought in Jorge Soler and Jock Peterson. And, they just had to just
Mm.
bring these guys in because they had nothing. So yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know, I don't know what's happening with the medical staff in
Yeah,
Atlanta. But outside of that, they've also just played some bad baseball.
yeah. They'll be getting Austin Riley back,
Yeah.
I think, within the next week or so. So that will certainly help. Although the guy playing at third base for them, I can't remember his name at the moment,
Mm.
has done a pretty good job.
Oh, look, they've got talent and they've got depth when they're not hurt. But again, I mean, they've got a couple of players who have very Ozzy Albies has underperformed
Mm.
this year, uh, but could be ripe for a trade. Could be open to a change of scenery because he's still a talented kid and he's still young.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at some of the teams who are going to be buyers and who are going to be sellers. Obvious buyers, certainly in the National League, Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, although the Dodgers may be just as happy to settle with what they've got.
Well, the Dodgers are an interesting one. I mean, one of the reasons they bought so many players in the offseason was to make themselves deadline proof, if you
Mm.
like. But again, so many injuries, particularly on the pitching side.
Snell, Glasnow,
Yeah.
just to name it.
It's arguable that they've already had their biggest pickup simply by getting Otani pitching
Yeah.
again. He might be the big move, but we'll see.
Yeah. Um, Cubs, in fact, they're actually another team that have surprised me this year.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it a bit later on, but I think they could be a good bet to go all the way. Um, Mets are an interesting one. They're going through a bit of a slide at the moment. They're 5-5 in their last 10. And the Padres, they you never know what the Padres are going to do.
No, you never do. The Padres could, suddenly put everybody for sale, or they could suddenly buy everybody. I mean, they're nuts in San Diego. They've had a really strong. If it wasn't for the Dodgers, they would have, been taking that division by storm every year for the last few years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an arms race.
Yeah. Now those on the cusp, I guess you could say, the Giants, Cardinals, Reds, even the Diamondbacks, they're 5 games out of the wild card. Probably too big a bridge to climb, I think, given their form of late. But yeah, you just don't know what Mike Hazen's going to do. I guess the next week will be telling for them.
The thing with the Diamondbacks too is that they have a lot they could sell.
Yeah,
I mean, between the Diamondbacks and the Baltimore Orioles, who I'll get to in when I talk about the American League, between those two teams, you could almost field a team of major league players from their possible trade
yeah,
pieces. So if the Diamondbacks agree to sell, I mean, I think they would arguably have the biggest chip available in Eugenio Suarez, the
mm,
third baseman. If they put him up for sale, then all bets are off. So I think, yeah, they are on the cusp. I suspect in that division with the Padres, the Dodgers, and the again confusing and surprising San Francisco Giants in
yeah,
the same division. I think they'd be silly not to sell some of their expiring deals.
yep. And teams that are pretty much out of it now: the Marlins, Braves, Nationals, Pirates, and the horrible Colorado Rockies, who we've
Yeah.
already talked about.
Actually, the Marlins are an interesting one because a lot of people are expecting them to trade, particularly some of their starting pitching.
Yeah.
but they're playing better than they're expected to be. I mean, this is a team in a rebuild, but if you actually watch the Marlins, their young players are playing well.
Mm.
They're not going to make the postseason this year, but they may be a bit more hesitant than we all expected about losing, particularly some of their controllable starting pitching.
Yep.
You know, guys who they have on the books for a couple of years who seemed like obvious trade candidates. I'm not sure if they are anymore. The thing about the deadline, though, is it depends on the price. You
Oh,
know, if
exactly.
some team's willing to offer
Yep.
six hot prospects for a middle of the road pitcher, you'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess and we'll talk about him in a minute, but the most obvious one to come out of the Marlins will be Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah.
He's having a horrible year this year, pitching to something like a 7 ERA.
Mhm.
But he's a year removed from Tommy John.
And two
Um,
years removed from a Cy Young.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that will be an interesting one. If teams, I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees go in for him.
Mm. I think there's a lot of teams that might buy low on him. He has been pitching better of late.
Yeah.
So again, I think the Marlins, there's a real chance that they'll hold on to him until the off season. And give him a chance over the next couple of the last few months of this season. If he pitches well, then his value skyrockets
Yeah.
in the off season. So yeah, he again, he's one of the players I was thinking of with them. He seemed like such an obvious trade
Mm.
candidate, and now the waters are a bit murky. This is the fun of the trade deadline.
It
It
certainly is.
changes day to day.
It
You know?
certainly is.
Yeah.
So that's the story in the National League. What's happening in the American League? Who are going to be the buyers and sellers?
See, the American League's an interesting one. The National League is almost your traditional setup where I think there's going to be two teams from each league playing in the postseason, and it seems almost clear who they are. I think in the National League it's going to be much more of a fight for the division titles.
Yeah.
But even in the Central, for example, the Brewers and the Cubs are fighting it out. There's no way anyone's catching either of those two teams. The AL is a different beast.
Mm.
I mean, at the moment, at the time of recording this, there are, let me just count them here: one, two, three, four, five, six. There are six teams within 4 to 4.5 games of the wild card. And that's not counting the three who are already in there. Yeah. So basically, the only teams who are out of it at this stage are the Orioles, who we're going to bring up, the Athletics. I'm going to call them Sacramento.
Sacramento Athletics, yep.
And the White Sox. I mean, those three teams are out of it. But as you raised, the Athletics and much more so the White Sox don't have much to trade. But at the top, I mean, at the moment, I mean, at the time that we're recording this, the division leaders are the Tigers in the Central, the Blue Jays in the East, which is interesting, and of course the Dodgers in the West. Out of those teams, I see the Blue Jays as being the most aggressive buyers. I mean, to paraphrase Epstein from the Red Sox a few years ago, if not now, when?
Yeah.
I mean, they've shown over the last couple of years they have money they want to spend. It's just no one seems to want to take it.
Vladimir Guerrero finally did take it.
Took his extension. Yeah, I can see the Blue Jays going in large. They could use another couple of pitchers. They need some relief help, and they could maybe use one more bat. So yeah, if I had to pick a team that's going to go on a spree in this trade deadline, it would be Toronto. The Tigers, I'm not sure. They may sit sort of where they are. They could use another bat. And then, the Astros are currently leading the West in the AL. And sorry, that's how I mentioned the Dodgers before. The Houston Astros, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on. I mean, they again have a strong, strong team, even after losing some big, big pieces. So I'm not sure if there's anything they desperately need out of the sort of middle range. I can see the Rangers picking up another bat. The Guardians are right on that cusp. I mean, they could go either way. They could decide that they want to go for it. They could decide to sell off some pieces, or they could just decide to sit where they are. The Angels have been in a strange position in that nobody expected them to be in this list of middle of the pack teams.
Yeah.
We did just get swept by the Mets in 3 games, which might force their hand a little bit because they are in a position where they've got 4 or 5 expiring contracts who they could probably sell and pick up some good prospects for, which personally I think would be the smart thing to do. It's also been 11 years since they played in the postseason, and we have an owner who wants that to happen. So it's entirely possible that they sell the farm and try and pick up a couple of pieces and then implode.
Yeah.
Neither of those outcomes would surprise me in the slightest. It's just what they do. The Royals, they've been a bit of a disappointment for me this year. They could use, I mean, they really are one sort of big bat away from being back in contention.
Although they've just swept the Cubs.
They have. That's what I mean. Is they're a decent team and they've underperformed this year. Again, it's probably more likely that they sell, but the next week could change that.
Yep.
And then the Orioles, who I've brought up a couple of times, the Orioles have been a huge disappointment this year, but they're still stacked with young players. They've got so many young prospects that they could shake things up. They could put a lot of ready now major league players on the block immediately. Charlie Morton had a terrible start to the year, but he's been pitching well recently. Cedric Mullins would be, the best center fielder available. Ramon Laureano's having a resurgent year and still is a defensive upgrade for virtually anybody. If they put all of those up for sale, that could change the race for another team. So, between them and the Diamondbacks, those would be my two teams to watch if they really decide to cut bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at some teams that need starting pitching at the deadline. And I'll be honest, I've stolen these from former GM Jim Bowden. So thanks, Jim, for the tips. We think that the teams in need of starting pitching are the Blue Jays. You did just talked about them.
Yep.
They're probably one arm short, aren't they? Definitely the New York Yankees. They lost Garrett Cole, Luis Hill at the start of the season, and Clark Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
Schmidt came back, but he's now having or just had Tommy John surgery, so he's gone for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They're relying on Marcus Stroman and Will Warren, who some days is pitching like Sandy Koufax, and then the next day he's pitching like Marcus Stroman.
Yeah.
So talk around is they might even be up to two starters, the Yankees. So we'll see what goes there. The Cubs, they need at least another one arm to start, and the Mets are also looking for another one arm to start. Their starting rotation is a bit thin, but I think they're probably pitching well enough to certainly be buys at this trade deadline.
Yeah, it's a little freaky, but I mean, just in the last couple of days in the series against the Angels, both Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea both pitched reasonably well, both of whom are sort of recovering from, coming back into the fold. So yeah, the Mets, again, everyone could use a pitcher. I mean, everyone could use a pitcher. But whether they're willing to part with the prospects that it's going to take to pull some of these guys, again, going off Bowden's predictions, it's funny. His list of top pitchers who could be available all come from three teams.
Yeah.
We talked about the Marlins, Savvy Alcantara. Possibly a more interesting prospect is Edward Cabrera because he has some team control. I think the Blue Jays will be looking for someone, not just a rental player. A rental player is someone whose contract might be expiring at the end of this year. So you trade for them now and you just have them for this postseason run. The Blue Jays have a couple of people coming off contracts. They'll be looking for somebody who's around a little longer than that. And Cabrera could be an interesting target if the Marlins decide to trade. There's two pitchers with the Diamondbacks, Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen. Again, I believe Kelly is controllable for longer. Gallen is on an expiring contract, but both of them would be upgrades for a contender this year.
Absolutely.
And then the Pirates, there's a team we haven't mentioned yet. Man, again, the Pirates, you just never know. It would not surprise me at all if suddenly Paul Skeens, the best pitcher in baseball, was available for trade just because of the way the Pirates do business.
Yeah.
It would be insane, but it's possible. But they do have Mitch Keller and an old angel, actually, Andrew Heaney. Heaney, having watched him for several years in Anaheim, Heaney's been pitching a lot better in the last couple of years, but I mean, he's not an ace by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But he's the number four starter.
Yeah, back into the rotation.
Yeah. Mitch Keller, on the other hand, is. I mean, Keller is pitched really well this year. Again, I believe he's controllable for another year or two, so he could get a big price at this deadline. And the Pirates are always sellers. It seems they don't like investing. They never do extensions.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the list of pitchers that they've traded over the last 10 years. Garrett Cole, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only player they really have extended in recent years is Brian Reynolds.
Yeah.
But he's being talked about as a trade candidate this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's the pitching side of things. I mean, that's the starting pitching side. Relief pitching, I mean, everyone needs relief pitching at all times, particularly in this day and age where starters don't seem to ever go much more than 5 innings.
Yeah.
So every team is using 3 or 4 relievers every game and then wonder why their arms fall off halfway through the year. So maybe the most obvious ones are the Phillies. The Mets again, although again the Mets bullpen has picked things up a little bit of late. The Cubs and the Tigers. If the Tigers have a weakness, it's maybe in their bullpen. But basically, anyone who's going to buy is going to buy a reliever, either by themselves or as part of a package with another player. So yeah, I mean, who's available?
Yeah, some of the ones that we've got here, Dennis Santana. He closes for, I can't remember what team he's now. I cut that bit off on the edge. David Bednar, Joanne Duran, he's another Marlin. Aroldis Chapman, they're talking about being potentially on the trade block. Boston Red Sox are an interesting one, aren't they?
Aren't they?
Could be both buyers and sellers.
Well, I mean, arguably the biggest trade that we're going to see this year has already happened when the Red Sox sent Rafael Devers to the Giants.
Yeah.
And then perhaps the most stunning part of that trade is how well Boston have played since he left. I mean, they've played really well. Boston always strikes me as a team that clubhouse vibes mean more there for some reason. I don't know whether the lockers are closer together at Fenway Park or something.
Pretty changing room.
Probably is a reason because it just seems that one personality can make or break that team. You bring in someone like Kevin Millar in their World Series run, who's a lunatic. And on any other team would probably be out the door. But on the Red Sox, he took them to a World Series. And then you've got Devers, who apparently was a downer. You get rid of him and they go on a 10-game winning streak. So yeah, the Red Sox, who knows? They've got Duran, not the reliever Duran, they've got the outfielder, Jan Duran, who is a possible trade chip. And Chapman, who he's ageless. I mean, he's still stop. Yeah,
he's still throwing over 100 miles an hour,
and he's 40 or close to. So he's a possibility. But again, they're playing well. They may see an opportunity to push through. And again, in Boston, even though the curse is broken, they'll take a postseason opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another couple, we did talk briefly about the Sacramento Athletics.
Yeah.
Mason Miller is probably about the only player, both sides of the field, that anybody would be interested in trading for from the Athletics.
Yeah, I mean, I think Luis Severino, who was their big pickup at the beginning of the season, has just made it so clear he hates it there. He hates playing in Sacramento. So honestly, I mean, I think they might trade Severino just to get him off the team. I'd be surprised if Severino was still an Athletic after next week. But I think they might have to package him up because he hasn't been pitching well. They may have to package him as a deal with Mason Miller, for example. It might be a case of, all right, we'll give you Miller, but you're taking Severino as well. You're taking his contract. So,
yep. And the big name on the list is the Guardians closer, Emmanuel Clase. He's obviously coming up for free agency fairly soon. So looking at a rental there probably.
Yeah, I mean, people are always looking for a closer or at least back end bullpen. Clase, I mean, the price on Clase would be enormous. But there might be a sneaky way for the Dodgers to get involved. Their closer, Tanner Scott, has not been good. And had an MRI the other day. Apparently his arm is okay, but he left a game in the ninth inning the other day. Class A, it might be someone that the Dodgers do Dodgers things and come in. There's a couple of closers. Chapman, obviously, we've talked about. Another possibility would be Carlos Estevez from the Royals. If the Royals do sell, Estevez is still under control for another year with an option for 2027, and he's been rock solid for them. So he could be a cheaper option. And the other one is coming from the Angels, Kenley Jansen, who has been great. He's been lights out as a closer, again, pushing 40.
Mhm.
But if they decide to sell, he's probably the most valuable chip expiring, certainly the most valuable expiring contract that the Angels have
Yeah.
as a trade chip.
So that's pretty much pitching done and dusted. Who are some of the teams that are going to be looking for a bat at the deadline?
Well, there's a lot of them really. I mean, almost anyone can always you can always use a big bopper heading into the postseason. I mean, the postseason is such a crazy time because they're all short series. You can get through a postseason with three good starting pitchers. But if you can have a couple of big bats even on your bench, it can go a long way. I mean, think of the highlight moments over some of the last decade. You know, David Ortiz's grand slam,
Oh, yeah.
a couple of Yankees home runs.
Yeah.
You know, the big moments. But the ones that could really use them, again, according to Jim Bowden, the Padres could always use a big bat, even though they are a big hitting team, but they're in such a tight division. And they're only 4 games behind the Dodgers
Yeah.
at the moment. So that could make a difference. The Guardians could definitely use a bat, but again, the Guardians are right on that bubble of whether they buy or sell. The Tigers and the Yankees could both use bats. Funny, you don't think of those teams as needing them, but
Yeah.
you can tell me about
Yeah, the Yankees definitely need a third base.
Yeah.
And I think they've been eyeing up Suarez from the Diamondbacks pretty much for the whole of the season.
Yeah, well, Suarez is the biggest bat available.
Yeah.
I mean, by the sounds of things. If the Diamondbacks sell him, I mean, he's got close to 30 home runs in the first half of the season. He's
36, actually.
yeah, there you go. Well, he's having a monster of a year.
Yeah.
And then two of the other ones who again are sort of on that cusp of whether they buy or sell, the Mariners. The Mariners have been surprising this year, where their problem has always been offense, but it's actually been strong. But again, they could use one more bat. And
One of the surprises this year is a big bat with the Mariners, Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, of course.
He's actually got more home runs than Aaron Judge this year.
Yeah, and won the home run derby. And the thing with the Mariners, though, is I mean they have a long history of just falling apart in September, in particular. So if they could get a reasonably healthy bat to help get them through, and the Royals could desperately use an outfielder. They could use a left-handed outfield bat, or left field outfield bat. Taylor Ward from the Angels is an obvious fit for them. But again, the Royals, the Royals are on that edge. They've got pitching they could spare. They could get rid of Seth Lugo. He would be a big addition to starting pitching. But yeah, of those, I mean, like you say, the Yankees and the Padres are probably the two most in the tightest races. Like if you're chasing a division, the Tigers are playing so well they can take it or leave it. I think they can be buyers, but they can name their price.
Yeah.
The Yankees, I mean, Cashman has already said that they're going to town this offseason, whatever.
Yeah, well, he needs to do it fairly soon because if they have a bad week leading up to the trade deadline, they might be right out of it.
That's right. So the Yankees would be the team to watch in terms of the bats. I think Suarez obviously is the big name there. I mean, Cedric Mullins is not going to hurt anybody's lineup if you bring him in. There's some big names available.
Quite right. And some of those names you've got, we've talked about Suarez, the third base, a couple of first basemen, Josh Naylor from the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
He was only picked up on a 1-year deal, wasn't he, with Arizona? So he would be a rental. Baltimore's Ryan O'Hearn. He's come from nowhere this year, hasn't he?
He has, yeah, and he's been a bright spot for that lineup. There's a lot of infielders on this list. The big names, anyway, Naylor, O'Hearn, Suarez.
Taylor Ward from the Angels.
Well, Taylor Wood's a left fielder, and he's constantly for about the last 4 years been in the middle of all discussions around trade deadlines. He's got another year on his contract. It's actually another year of arbitration, believe it or not, before he becomes a free agent. He leads the Angels in home runs and RBI this year. very streaky hitter. If he goes on a hot streak, he'll hit everything, and then he'll go dead for a month.
Mm.
Um, I would be surprised if the Angels traded him. I think he's part of their rebuild plans. But if they got the right offer, if the Royals came to them and offered them a couple of young pitchers, it would be a hard discussion not to have.
And I think one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball,
Yeah,
Stephen Kwan
I agree.
from the Guardians. He
Yeah.
just seems to perform every time he goes out there.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like a couple of years ago, when the Angels were during the off season, Mike Trout was making a real push to try and get Stephen Kwan on the team because he agrees with you. He thinks he's one of the most underrated players.
Mm,
And yeah, and again, this is a Guardians team that are sort of stuck in the mud at the moment. But like anyone in their division or in their league, they're only a good week away from being right back into contention. So, but Kwan would be an upgrade again for the
yeah.
outfield. Another possibility for the Royals.
Jaron Duran, we've talked about him.
Mm.
Luis Robert from the Chicago White Sox, probably about the only player that the White Sox have got with any value.
Yeah, I mentioned him at the top of this recording. He's about the only thing the White Sox have to offer, and he's having an awful year. Like he is arguably the worst player in baseball this year. I mean, his batting average is about 170 or something. It's he's having a brutal year, but he's a talented guy. I
Mm,
mean, he's only a couple of years removed from serious MVP consideration. So change of scenery candidate, buy him while he's cheap. Yeah, if the White Sox are going to get rid of somebody, it's probably going to be him.
yeah. Cedric Mullins, we've talked about. Brian Reynolds, he's an interesting one. We did talk about him a bit before. He's come out publicly with his no trade
Yeah,
list, and it's six of the best teams in baseball.
yeah.
And somebody commented on X, I keep calling it Twitter, not interested in winning, Brian.
These It's another factor that comes into play here is there are players who have these no trade clauses, where they can pick and choose which teams they go to, and some of them are very funny. I mean,
Yeah,
it was one thing. Apparently, Vladimir Guerrero. I'm not sure if it was written in stone, but he just has said publicly over and over again he will never play for the Yankees.
yeah,
Which takes a huge market off the books.
yep.
Yeah,
And that goes, I mean, that goes back to his father's
of
days.
course it does. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 And Adolis Garcia, the hero of the World Series a couple of years ago.
Yeah, who again has had a rough season, but he's really been picking it up recently. The second quarter of the season, if you like, his bat started to heat up. He had an ice cold start. Again, he'll be a case of if the Rangers still think they're in this race, they'll be hanging on to Garcia, just because of his track record in the postseason.
Yeah.
He's the guy you want in there, even coming off the bench in the bottom of game three of the wild card series with the game on the line. If the Rangers decide it's too big of a hill to climb, yeah, he's a valuable piece as well.
So there you go. There's our predictions for the trade deadline, which happens on a very important day, the 31st of July. I wonder whose birthday that is. Um, so it's now prediction time. I will warn you, if you like a flutter on the TAB, do not put any money on anything I say. Jeremy might be a bit different than me, but so we'll start with division winners.
Well, going across the board.
Yep,
Yep. All right. Well, in the National League, I think I want to say the Blue Jays in the East. Sorry, American League. I'll start with the American League. I want to say the Blue Jays in the East. I can see the Yankees catching them, particularly if they pick up a couple of pieces this deadline. In the Central, the Tigers seem to be running away with it. And in the AL West, I mean, it pains me to say it, but the Astros, I think, are going to win the division. I think they've just been doing what they do
yep,
without making headlines, and I mean, they have a 5 game lead, I think, at the moment. National League. Oh, so you want to do your
yep,
American League?
yep.
Yeah.
American League. I'm gonna say the Yankees, but there is a caveat on that they do pick up a bat,
Yeah.
a relief pitcher, and a starting pitcher.
Mm.
Although in saying that, Lewis Hill, who won Rookie of the Year last year, he is on his way back. He's pitching at Double A level at the moment to get his arm ready for the majors. So he will be like adding a
It'd be a huge pickup. Yeah.
um but yeah, definitely at least one starter and at least probably two relievers. I think our bullpen's been the worst it's been for a very long time. Um, but yeah, I think if depending on that, I think it could be a race between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. In the Central, yeah, I think the Tigers have got that one pretty much sewn up already. And as much as I dislike the Houston Astros, I'll probably have to go with you on that one too.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, yeah, since they came into the AL West, I remember when they arrived in, I think, 2017 or something, 2014 maybe.
Mm.
And, they'd been a 100 loss team for 5 or 6 years before that. They arrive in the Angels division. We all go, great, there's a bunch of games we're going to win. And they've won the division every year since. It feels like so, yeah, unbelievable.
Yes, quite right. National League, in the East, it could be tight depending on, again, it's another caveat. If the Mets do well at the trade deadline, they could sneak up there. But otherwise, I think the Phillies
Mm.
will probably take that division out. The Central, I think it's going to be a battle royale between the Brewers and the Cubs.
Yeah.
As we've talked about, the Brewers don't have a lot of what you would call superstars, but they do the fundamentals very well and play good, solid baseball. But my heart's really wanting the Cubs to get up there and do
I
it.
understand. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just love the Cubs.
It's hard to dislike the Cubs.
And
I mean, it's
I had an amazing day at Wrigley Field
yeah.
many, many years ago, and I think they've always
I had a
always had a soft
I
spot
had a
for
freezing cold, amazing day at Wrigley Field. It's about the same temperature in Chicago as it is today in Greytown. So
them.
yeah, similar.
And the West, yeah, I don't think you can really go past the Dodgers. Um, the Padres, if they can go on a good run, or the Giants, if they can go on a good run,
Mm.
can possibly catch them. But yeah, I think you'd be best to put your money on the Dodgers there.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Dodgers is they've been playing bad baseball for the last month or so, and they still have a 4 game lead.
Mm.
It is only a 4 game lead, but like you said about the Yankees, they've got pitching coming back. Otani's building up, pitching more innings. They're just too deep. Um, I don't have my money on the Dodgers for the World Series anymore. I mean, I do think they're vulnerable in a short series, but division wise, I think they've got it.
Mm.
The Central, I agree with you. I mean, that's going to be a battle to the end between the Cubs and the Brewers. The Brewers are the anti-Dodgers in a way. I
Mm.
mean, they don't have the superstars, but they play as a team. I mean, they feel like a little league team. I mean, they feel like the plot of a movie. They've just got this camaraderie about them. They're gritty.
Yeah. They're the
Um,
National League version of the Tampa Bay Rays.
they are, yeah. I mean, the Rays are a fun story in themselves. With the fact that they'll be playing if they make the postseason, they'll be playing it in a minor league field. I mean, that's hilarious. Uh, but yeah, so I think I'm with you. My heart is with the Cubs, but I'd be happy with either of those. I'd be happy with the Brewers coming through in the Central as well. And then in the East, yeah, I'm probably with you in the Phillies. I think the Phillies have got the desire for it. I think the trade deadline could make a big difference in the East.
Mm.
If either the Phillies or the Mets decide to make a splash, and like if either of them bring in someone of the caliber of Suarez or Cabrera as a pitcher, that could swing it. But it's a two-horse race. It's a two-horse race in every division
Mm.
in the National League.
Yep.
I don't think anyone outside of those six teams is going to be involved in the conversation.
Who's playing in the last week of October?
I probably have a heart pick and a soul pick. My heart pick is the two winners of the Centrals. I would love to see the Tigers play either the Brewers or the Cubs.
That would be
That
fantastic.
would be wonderful. That would be my heart. My logic tells me that's probably not the case. My logic tells me logic tells me it's the Dodgers, but again, I'm probably going to lean towards the Phillies. I think the Phillies could have the Dodgers number in a short season.
Yep.
So on the National League side, and on the American League side, I still wouldn't sleep on the Astros. I still think the Astros have got it. I would love to see the Blue Jays go all in at the deadline. That could swing it. If they picked up two solid pitchers and a bat, then all bets are off. Could be Blue Jays.
Yeah, my heart pick is the Yankees and the Cubs.
That'd be great.
Pretty much my two of my three favorite teams in Major League Baseball. My head is probably saying, um, I agree with what you're saying about the Dodgers, but it's hard not to pick them.
It's difficult. Yeah.
Um,
Especially if they get back to full health, forget it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I probably agree with you on the Phillies. I think they might just have their number in a short series, especially if they get to them in the shorter series.
That's right.
Um, American League, I'm actually going to stick with the Yankees. I think they've just Max Fried and Carlos Rodon are having such good years.
Yeah.
Um, and as you said, you can get through the World Series with, or you can get through any postseason series with three good starting
Sure.
pitchers,
Yeah.
which the Yankees did the last time they won it in '09. They did it with Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Andy Pettitte.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Yankees both in my heart and my head.
Yeah. So Yankees, Dodgers, the kind of repeat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. But yeah, Yankee. I'd love to see Yankees Cubs.
That'd be great fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to an end of our baseball special. It's been great having you in good old Greytown,
Yeah. My pleasure. It was nice
and
speaking.
yeah, we'll as the season rolls on, we will get Jeremy back and talk more baseball as all our predictions turn to shit. So that's a goodbye from him.
And a goodbye from me.